Boy.
Hopefully, Ben trying to stuff a hero into his mouth will be made part of the opening. But in case it's not, that's what Ben's doing. Welcome, everybody, to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are, of course, very proud to be part of the Pigskin Podcast Network and the affiliation there with DraftKings as well. And we have finally reached the end of the season. It's week 17. Your Pittsburgh Steelers are still mathematically alive, as they say. And I guess perhaps better than that, as the great Jim Carrey said in the movie Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance. And there is a chance.
Or like they said in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, we're not dead yet.
We are not dead yet. No. And stranger things have happened in the NFL in the final week of the season. Also, a quick note, everyone. This is episode 250 in the SCB podcast universe. 250. I guess that's some sort of anniversary. I know it's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. Anyway, so we'll pat ourselves on the back later. Anyway, joining me tonight are Ian and Ben, and we are very happy to have Miss Ellie Finnerty with us as well. And she is sporting her tremendous Kiss t-shirt, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask your favorite Kiss song, Ellie.
I Was Made for Loving You.
Really?
Wow. Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's my favorite Kiss song. That is my favorite Kiss song. I don't know why. I just love that one.
It's all right.
I think the first time I heard that, Ellie, I was about
there we go.
18 years younger than you are now.
And by the way,
they're in their 70s.
Well, hey, if the Stones can tour, why can't Kiss? By the way, what's everybody got tonight? I am probably going to polish off my second bottle of Bradshaw bourbon tonight. Celebrate that victory, everyone.
I also have Bradshaw.
Beautiful. And we have some, is that a phaser?
Ecliptic phaser. Hazy. Yeah.
Said phasers, too stunned. Ellie, you said you're at a friend's house. What are you doing there?
We were just having dinner, and I did just have a drink, but I've just thrown it out. But it was an IPA that was like a grapefruit IPA. But I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, no.
You threw it out?
Wow.
No, I finished it. I threw the bottle out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You had a beer.
Like it like, wow. We can't have such alcohol abuse on this program.
Well,
whatever. Never. All right, let's move along. People are here to listen to us talk Steelers. At least I think they are. Hey, you know what? It was a great win Monday night, and it was one of the most unique and awesome scenes this particular Steelers fan has ever seen. I was at the last game at Three River Stadium, which was really, really cool. They brought out a lot of the old guys and they mingled with the current players, and it was a great scene. It was exciting to also watch people try to rip seats out and run off with towel dispensers and things like that from the bathroom. But it was really, really cool the other night. And Ian, I want to pass it to you first because you were in the crowd, of course, and you've been to a lot of games. You've seen AFC title games there, and so on. So what was it like for you in the crowd there on Monday night?
Well, the entire lower bowl paid for their seats, but did not use them for the entire game. It was the only sporting event I've ever been to where I stood the entire time. Like, it was crazy. Yeah. And I mean, I've been to NASCAR races. I've been to college football. I've been to a bunch of pro football games. I've been to, baseball.
He goes to a lot
hockey.
of wrestling events too. He's really into NASCAR and wrestling.
Concerts, whatever it is. But like, it was the first time I stood for the entirety of an event. Like, it was wild. Like, nobody sat down. I guess sat down at halftime, but like while the players were on the field, nobody sat down. Everyone.
So you messaged us before the game and said that there was kind of a holdup at Gate B, I believe it was, because the scanners weren't working or whatever.
Metal detectors.
Clarify, it was the metal detectors.
It
It wasn't the ticket scanners. It was the set of metal detectors in the middle of gate B broke, so everyone that was in the middle had to like move to the side entrances, and it was a disaster trying to get in. But so eventually everyone got in. I was lucky enough to get to my seat like right when they started announcing the team, so I was able to get a little video of Ben running out for the last time, which was pretty cool. And I did take a mental note that they announced Najee in the penultimate spot. So, potentially looking forward that he may be the guy to take that last spot next year when they do the offense. But, we'll see what happens, whoever the quarterback is. But
in 2022, can we resolve to pronounce his name Najee?
Sure.
Cool.
We can.
Because that's actually how he pronounces it.
Yeah.
Najee.
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 Yes.
Najee.
Najee.
Okay. I'm just putting that there.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he's commented on that too, and he just said Najee, but I don't know.
Right. Mr. Harris.
There you go. Yes. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris.
Hey, 22. And
it was. I mean, the crowd was into it the whole game. I mean, it was quite the atmosphere. There were chants going all game. I mean, there was "Thank you, Ben" chants at the end when it looked like it was his last drive.
There was the Cleveland sucks chant.
There was I was getting to that. I wanted to say the good one first, but there was the Cleveland sucks chant that was so loud that it precipitated a delay of game by the Browns.
That was the highlight of the fourth quarter.
Was it loud enough you could hear it on TV?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
It was.
My family was going crazy. It was great.
It was so loud in the stadium, and it was, and there was a variety of other chants during the game too. But it was really cool. And then, it was a weird game though. I mean, for the first half, it seemed like both teams were trying to out-stupid each other, and it was kind of like whoever makes the last mistake is going to lose this game, and whoever makes the next to last mistake will probably wind up winning it. And I mean, Baker looked terrible. The Browns play calling was horrendous. Why they even threw the ball at all is beyond me. I mean,
they weren't doing that great running it either, though.
Until their last drive of the first half, that 2-minute drive, Baker had as many completions to his own receivers, as he had to our team because he threw an interception. So it was just, not the offensive line played really good. They were getting a really good push in the middle. J.C. Hassenauer played a lot better than Kendrick Green had been playing. I mean, I'm not saying it was
wasn't he?
and it stood out from the beginning. I mean, they were getting an interior push and moving the line of scrimmage back, which is something we haven't seen really since like the Denver game that they established the line. We were able to at least get back to the line of scrimmage before there was contact on a running back, rather than it happening 2 yards deep in the backfield. But nevertheless, you could tell they wanted to send Ben out, and that when they got down into the red zone, they abandoned the running game, even though we were averaging 7 yards a carry. They were like, nope, we're going to throw the ball, try and get Ben a bunch of touchdowns.
As you said, the battle of stupid.
But it all worked out. And then after the game was just a great scene that, there was, I think, 64,000 people there, and at least half of them stuck around to kind of send Ben off, and he went all around and, high-fived everyone, and it was really cool. But you could tell Ben was getting emotional on the sideline too, and even, the pictures you saw of him before the game, you could tell he was wearing his emotion on his face for a guy who's usually pretty reserved. That, I was honestly a little worried coming in that he was just going to, let his emotions get the better of him and try too hard to do too many things, but it was a hilarious, statistical quarterbacking performance because for a while we had more rushing yards than passing yards, but
and he threw the ball 34 times in the first half,
something like that.
It was ridiculous.
But it was that the teams were trying to out-stupid each other, and the Browns were just stupider.
Yeah, stupider. I love it. Yeah. Ellie, what was? I don't know if you were watching the game with friends or family or by yourself. I'm not sure, but what was going through your mind, through the course of the game, and then of course at the end?
I think the beginning and the end of the game, your focus really was on Ben, because they did those really great tributes before the game. So your mind was really on this being Ben Roethlisberger's last game. And then obviously the end and when he did his like lap and his kids came out and everything, you kind of almost like forgot anything that happened in the game, and it all came down to that final moment. During the game, definitely like reestablished that we needed to win this game for more than just Ben, but to keep our playoff hopes alive. So there was definitely moments where I was still frustrated with the offense and with some of the choices we were making. Like you said, it was a game of whoever's the stupidest loses. But I thought it was, you definitely, and I think Ben himself said that it's not about, he said it was a game that was very much his career in a game. It wasn't pretty, but he got it done. And even though yes, it wasn't, they were trying in the red zone to give him those touchdown passes, and it wasn't really happening. At the end of the day, it still ended up with the win, which I think is the best send-off you could hope for, especially in this season, but against a rival as well. Like the win was the most important point from that moment. But of course, during the game, I was definitely like a little bit concerned about, why we abandoned the run game, and some of the choices that they were making in that red zone were just extremely questionable. But at least we came up with the win. That's the most important thing, I think, in the end.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, and Ben, give me your thoughts too. I know they echo what they've said, but
pretty much. When Ben said, he thought it epitomized his career. I thought that was a bit of self-deprecation, because let's be frank, Ben's had some really pretty games. He had a couple of weeks. Was it 2017 when he threw 6 TD passes in a row, 2 weeks in a row? I mean, I don't know that anybody's ever done that before or since. I'd have to sit down on Pro Football Reference to check, but that's a rare performance. He's the only quarterback who's ever thrown for 500 yards in a game, and he's done it 3 times. Excuse me. The only quarterback who's done it 3 times, not the only one who's ever done it. But I mean, he's accomplished a lot as an individual. Saying what he said made him sound like he just kind of managed the game, and he did on Sunday
times,
and he has for the most part this season. But that doesn't really epitomize his career, and that's fine. He's trying to be humble, whatever, fine. But I mean, a fitting end to a Hall of Fame career. I thought the crowd was great.
Yes,
it does bother me somewhat that it was his last home game and there were almost 5,000 no-shows. What the fuck? I mean, seriously. How? I know it's a Monday night game, but really? Give your tickets away. Donate them. Something.
Yeah, right. There were a lot of people that would have loved to have been at that game.
Yeah.
And I don't mean around the country, because then we're talking millions. But I'm quite certain that in the Pittsburgh area, there were probably 5,000 people who would have loved to have been at that game. And if you're not going to use your tickets, give them to somebody.
Absolutely.
Give them to somebody. But I get what you're saying. I get what Ben was saying, maybe a little self-deprecation, a little too hard on himself there. My wife was funny. She was so pissed off about the camera guys in his face at the end of the game. Like, give him some room. I thought she was going to fucking pull out the TV.
Yeah, you got guys that are jockeying over each other, trying to make sure they've got the best angle. You got photographers that are chasing them around. I mean, it was what it was.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I told her. I said, you know what? I said, he gets it. He understands it. Now, he did get a little, and actually I heard Bert, and most of you guys know who Bert Loughton is, the Steelers PR guy. And he was kind of riding sidecar with Ben for a lot of that. He was kind of walking alongside. And eventually, as they got towards the tunnel where Ben's wife, Ashley, and the kids were going to come out, you could hear Bert kind of like, okay, guys, back up, and Ben said it once or twice. And thankfully, they gave him a little bit of space there. But, I'm nitpicking for sure. It was still just an awesome moment and everything there. Ian, in terms of his performance, did you think he was pressing in the second half? He seemed to have some really poor throws. I mean, just not like him.
A little bit. I think he was pressing. I think he was specifically pressing to get the ball to specific receivers. Like he wanted to throw it to Claypool, and Claypool just wasn't open. And it was, I don't know, it was kind of a weird game from the receiving corps too, because Deontay had those couple drops in the first half, and had a penalty and really was having an off game. They threw it to Ray McLeod probably too much in the first half. I mean, we were sitting there like sitting there with the guys next to me, we're like, he's probably the 5th or 6th best receiving option on the team, and he's leading the team in targets. Like, I mean,
and kept leaving him open.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Exactly the reason you just pointed out. He's the 5th or 6th best receiving option on the field. Let's not cover that guy.
Yeah, and to Ray's credit, he made a heck of a catch down by the goal line for a first down where he got walloped and hung onto the ball to get us a big first down there. So I mean,
he absolutely popped him.
Made a big play there. But yeah, I think the second half too, they kind of, they were able to simplify the game a little bit more too. They had a lead, they could lean on the running game, and it was like, okay, it was kind of a return to old school Steeler football, right? It was almost, I almost saw it as a passing of the torch from the Ben era to the, Najee Harris era, where, whoever comes in next year, unless by some miracle we get like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson to come play quarterback for us, we're going to be doing a lot of handing off, and there's going to be a lot of, Najee Harris running the ball. So it kind of felt to me like a passing of the torch, and especially with that last touchdown to ice, it was just, that was great. And then Ben got to come out and kneel it out too at the end, thanks to Minka sort of, getting his elbow in and breaking up the pass, and Trey Norwood picking it off. Or no, Cam Sutton picked it off. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it was Norwood.
No, Trey Ward.
Was it
Trey Norwood.
Okay. Trey Norwood.
Minka made the play. He knocked it out of his hands, but Norwood ran behind him. And
I was actually kind of surprised they ruled it an interception, because I thought, it was a catch and a fumble, but 6 1/2 dozen of the
didn't
other.
Hit the ground.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, well, they didn't spend much time on it. They just kind of went, all right, let's, because by that time, I think the Browns.
At that point, the game was.
It was over. Yeah,
it was over.
There was really no point.
Yeah.
The Browns were on the bus from the beginning. I mean, I kind of thought with them being eliminated from the playoffs, they were going to come in and act like this was their Super Bowl and play their hearts out. And they just looked lackadaisical and like they didn't care the whole game. Like they just. Had no emotion.
I thought they had some guys, especially some corners, that played really, really hard. But overall, I mean, like
the DBs and the linebackers.
Yeah,
the inside
Jarvis
linebackers
Landry
played pretty hard.
On routes a few times. I mean, so Ben, we mentioned J.C. Hassenauer a little while ago, and the word you've used is competent.
Yes.
That's a pretty good word.
He wasn't stellar. He didn't dominate, but he was competent. And we haven't seen competent play at center for most of the season. Let's be frank. The last time we saw it, in my opinion, was the first Cleveland game. So I'm kind of taking this performance with a grain of salt.
For sure.
The last time we saw the line block pretty well for Najee, block pretty well for Ben, was that first Cleveland game. And we go against this team again, and granted they didn't seem very inspired. I agree with Ian. They just kind of seemed flat.
Yeah.
But that being said, I kind of wonder if this was a bit of a mirage. I mean, because the tackles have not been good. Trey Turner has not been good. The center has not been good, but was better last week. But I've never been a J.C. Hassenauer fan until this week. And it's really just because he's a lot better than the other option based upon what I've seen, which is a very small sample size. But I thought the line played better. They did less outside zone. Thank God.
Kept it inside.
They did some zone. They did some duo. They did some gap blocking. And they just looked better. They just looked better. They made room. Yeah. He got to the line of scrimmage. Most of the time he got a couple of yards beyond the line of scrimmage before he had to make a decision, and then cut out and was at the second level. It was beautiful. I mean, and he ran determined. Najee ran really determined. Yeah, that last run that was kind of, I don't want to call it icing of the game because basically it was over then too.
Right.
It was kind of rubbing it in their face, but whatever. It's the Browns. Who cares?
Right.
You knew he wasn't going to stop. I didn't expect him to suddenly run out of bounds at the 1.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just run out of bounds at the 1 and come out here and take a knee 3 times. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, not doing that.
It's funny, in our old age, we do think of those things. Is it better that he just goes to a knee and we just get out of here? Well, no, score the damn football.
No, and how many breakaway runs has he had for touchdowns this season?
Not many. Yeah,
no, none, 0. That was the first one.
No,
Week 17. That was his first. It was fantastic. 188 yards.
Yeah,
I don't know, what did he average per carry, Ian?
It was 7 for a while. I think it wound up around 6.
I think it was in the 6. 28 for 188.
In one game at the end of the season, he increased his average by almost 0.4 of a yard.
It's pretty damn
one
good.
Game.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Hassenauer will get the call again.
Because our friend Kendrick Green is on the COVID list.
He's on the COVID list.
So,
and I'll get back to that in a minute. Ellie, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And I've heard many, many different answers to this question. What do you enjoy watching more? Some big pass plays down the field, or a running game that is just punishing the defense, and then you get a breakaway run like that?
God, that's a good question. A little bit of both would be nice.
Right?
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we've been so what's the word? Like, our brains have been so warped by being so predictable in previous seasons.
Yes.
That I now find anything where we're like, oh, we're just a consistent running team, a consistent pass. I'm like, oh, God, I hope they don't remember that. Like, I find myself being like, let's switch it up, let's do things differently so that we're not so predictable. So I kind of like having both. And obviously for Monday night's game, it would have been nice for Ben to be making those great connections and having passing touchdowns. But seeing Najee Harris have that kind of game was worth it, in my opinion, because it was nice. Just fun to watch.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about him.
Your very first answer is not that there's a right or wrong answer, but it's the right answer, because you want to see both. But I love watching a team just kick the shit out of another team on the ground, 5-6 yards a pop, and then you break one like that. I just,
as long as it's not the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem this year with the Steelers offense is they really don't have an offensive identity. And it's really hard to have any kind of an idea of what they're going to do week to week, because you don't know what they do well, because they don't really do much well.
No.
And we talked about this last week. Offensively, they're below average. They are.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
There's really no way around that. You can't deny it, kind of pretend that they're not reaching their potential, because I'm not a huge Matt Canada fan, but I hate all offensive coordinators. I've come to that conclusion.
I think many of us do. Yeah.
And, but I look at the execution out there, and they just haven't been good. They were better this week. Yeah. And I'm happy.
They were.
I'm real happy.
And by the way, I'd like to say congratulations to our former offensive coordinator, Mr. Todd Tequila Cowboy Haley. He's the new head coach of the USFL's Tampa Bay Bandits. Go get him,
Get
Coach
out.
Haley.
Seriously?
True. Came down today. Yeah.
Huh.
He's got another shot at it. Let's put it that way. Hey, don't forget, everybody, we are sponsored or presented by DEK Roofing of South Florida. DEK serves Broward and the Palm Beach counties. And whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, multifamily, or condos, contact DEK Roofing today by visiting dekroofing.com.
I told you they do multifamily.
Well, I've added that. I still haven't confirmed. But in any case, Yeah. So, and Ian, I was going to go to you next with that question. Was the running
what DEK
game
Roofing does?
I don't even know what DEK Roofing does. Was it more J.C. Hassenauer, or did the newly appointed head offensive line coach Chris Morgan have something to do with the success?
I'm going to steal an answer from Ellie and say a little bit of both. Yeah. Porque no les dos. Hassenauer was definitely getting a good push up the middle. And, the biggest difference I saw too was that, Hassenauer kept his legs moving, and because Najee keeps his legs moving too. And, he doesn't quit on plays. And there were times when it looked like Najee was stopped, and like Hassenauer and a couple other guys came and piled on him and pushed the pile a little bit farther down the field and added a few more yards on.
Yes.
And, seeing Hassenauer drive his guys into the ground where Kendrick Green was just driving himself into the ground. There's times when Trey Turner just looks lost out there, that he's just standing there with no one to block and guys are running past him. And he's like, I have no clue what I'm doing out here.
And Turner was better this week.
He was
better in particular on run plays. He was far better. It was like he had a clearly defined assignment and he went and did it.
Yeah.
Where it seemed like before, as you just pointed out, it was like he was confused. He didn't know who he was supposed to block or not block.
There were times with Trey Turner where he reminded me of the John Travolta gif, from Pulp Fiction, where he's like standing and doing this, like looking around. I mean, I'm sorry, it's true.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Especially in pass blocking. It was like, no, wait, you had that guy. No, you had that guy.
Right.
Neither one of them block it. And the guy's running right up the middle, untouched.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So Ian, I think you made the right answer. Because I don't know either, but I think it was a little of both.
And somehow, like, the combination of Hassenauer and Leglue side by side has now been like a solid tandem to run behind. And the other thing they did too was, those guys were firing off the line and driving the Browns defenders back. And not only does that give Najee the opportunity to, get yards before contact, but it also gives him a cutback lane where if the initial running lane isn't there, he has a place to go with the ball. Right. I think we saw that too, that, Najee looked a lot more confident in where he was going, whereas the last couple of weeks he was kind of, even when they blocked it well, he was kind of getting in there and dancing around and looked indecisive because he just wasn't confident that the line was going to block it where they were supposed to. Whereas this week he seemed a lot more straightforward, at least initially. And it was, I know where I'm going with this. And if I need to cut it back, I know where I'm cutting it back to, or I have an opportunity to cut it back. Whereas before it was more indecisive, this was more straightforward. So, and some of that's the zone versus the power running scheme. But
for sure.
So I think it's a combination of both, that the guys had, maybe it was simpler. They simplified the assignments. They said, like Ben said, this is your guy, you go block him. And we'll let our first round pick running back go do what he has the natural athleticism to do. And
one of the points that was made today was that the biggest difference this week and previous weeks was that Morgan involved running backs and tight ends in the offensive line meetings.
Yeah.
And there were discussions about what would take place and what they should expect. And apparently that was not going on prior to this week.
That seems like a mistake. I don't know why you wouldn't get.
If you're discussing the run game in particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, boy, I did not know that. And that
neither did I.
That's
it came as a shock to me too. I was like, why would okay. We weren't doing that.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, hope Clem has a good time in Oregon.
Yeah.
I hate the Oregon Ducks, by the way, so that's fine.
Quack, quack.
Bye.
Bye, Adrian. Ellie, one last question here on the offense. What would you say to Chase Claypool? He had 3 throws at him the other night that, he seems to just come off of his feet so quickly. He gets his hands on the ball, and there was pretty good coverage on him. Don't get me wrong. Greg Newsome's a good cornerback. What would you say to this guy? Because he just has not had the same year that he did last year, and I think everybody is a little disappointed in him. Well, what would you say? What would you motivate him with? What would you do?
Well, music during practice might make him
motivated
to him. No. Only joking, Chase.
I swear to God, that was not a predetermined question. That's a fantastic answer. I swear I didn't. I didn't. That was not a setup. That was great.
Amazing.
I don't know how I would motivate him, because I wish that someone said it, and they were not being very kind about it, but I see the sentiment. They were like, the worst thing we ever did was call him Mapletron, because the ego went woof, and the talent didn't quite catch up. But the potential is there.
Yeah.
I just think the kid feels a stiff breeze and he falls over. And I don't really know if that's something that they're encouraging, if that's the idea. I don't know. But I would love to see him actually get separation and start keep going. Let's not just do these. And it maybe isn't his fault, because maybe that's just the way they're utilizing him. But these on the outside, whether you're aiming to get pass interference, or if you actually intend to make those kinds of catches, which would be amazing. But I would love to know what the stats are and how many times he actually makes these 50-50 catches. I bet they're a lot less successful.
They are this year for sure.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Because when they're made, they're sensational. But I'm sure that they are made far less than we probably want to admit. Maybe he would even want to admit. So if that is how you're going to be utilized, if that's the role that you play on this team, then you need to be better at it. It needs to be way more successful. Now, if that means that you need to get far more separation, be faster, because I don't know how much he weighs, but he's 6'4".
He's
240.
Yeah,
240, 246.
And he's every bit of it. I mean, he is a big individual.
Yeah, his playing weight's got to be 235. I think he was 239 at the combine or something.
Yeah.
I would love to see that power be used to actually make more success of how you're being utilized. If that's the role that you're in, let's make this a more successful version of what it is. Yeah. Otherwise, maybe he does need, I don't know, maybe he does need more inside routes and trying something different. They certainly have never really attempted that with him, though. So I'm not sure whether maybe they just don't see the potential there. I'm not sure.
They've used him as a big slot, and it works pretty well. I agree with you. I'd like to see him use his body to box out the corner. And given his size and what he did when he was at Notre Dame, that's what I expected. I think, and this is just my opinion, I really have no insight. Nobody has told me this. It just seems like the success in his rookie season went to his head a little bit, and he's kind of resting on his laurels. He just expects that he's going to be good. I also don't think Ben's throwing the ball particularly well this year. I'm just being frank. I think he threw it a little better last year.
I would agree. Yeah. Yep.
And, that's Father Time, who is undefeated, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, that's playing into it. But I just don't see the effort that I saw last season. I don't see a guy, who's trying as hard.
He reminds me of a kid in the backyard that wants to make every single catch an amazing catch. Rather than just catch the ball, I got to make it falling away.
I don't know, man. If that was the case, would he just catch the ball and fall down? Because that's what he does.
I don't know. That's what it reminds me of. It just reminds me of that. I don't. Ian, go ahead.
Last season, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Ellie. Yeah.
I was going to say, last season he was a human highlight reel, and it was.
Yes.
Even when he was falling down, they were still amazing catches. And I remember that first game against New York last year when he did those Tony toe tap similarities, where he made that catch where his feet dragged in, and I was like, this is it. This kid has it.
Yes.
And I think that was what we were seeing so much of last season. This season, maybe it was the attempt to maintain that human highlight reel persona, and it has just backfired. But instead of making adjustments, he has just thought, if I keep going, eventually it'll get back. Like, that's how it feels a little bit to me.
I think what Tomlin said earlier in the season about the maturation of players and the things we're seeing this year with Deontay, where he's getting more mature as a player and as a person, is valid. And that we're going to see a bounce back from Claypool next season. And, as long as he is determined and dedicates himself to being that guy again, we're going to see that, and he'll be better. I mean, he still does stupid ticky-tack shit after plays. All of that's got to go. And I hope to see all that disappear and him to concentrate on just getting the job done, because he's got that potential. Last season, I agree with you, Ellie. Last season, it was like, who's going to be the number one? Is it going to be Claypool or is it going to be Johnson? Because Johnson looks like he's the more talented player, but Claypool looks like he's got something.
Right. No, I agree. Let me flip it over to the defense. And Ian, like I said, you were in the crowd.
TJ Watt, holy crap, man.
In your memory, you've been in a lot of games in that stadium. Has any defensive player riled up a crowd the way he does? And we've had some good defensive players.
We have.
Really? Huh.
What
was that safety? What was his name?
His name was
that guy that Ellie liked.
Donnie Shell. Yeah, him.
Yeah. Donnie Shell, yeah.
They got the one who just went to the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Troy was an otherworldly player. But he was never a pump the crowd up kind of player. Like he was rarely a guy who was doing the sort of raising his arms trying to get the crowd pumped up kind of thing.
2008 AFC Championship game, I think he pumped the crowd up pretty well.
His play absolutely did.
For sure.
His
persona,
his I'll say his pre-snap persona, right?
Okay.
Because before the snap, you get those guys like James Harrison, or Lamar Woodley would do the, give us more noise kind of thing. Troy was never that guy. And that's just his personality. He let his play speak for itself, and it most certainly spoke for itself. Absolutely, yes. What I thought Mark was going to ask was if I ever saw a quarterback get hit as hard as TJ hit.
I was eventually going to get to that.
Oh my goodness, did he get crushed?
Yes.
Like the only hit I could think of on a quarterback that was that hard was when James Harrison destroyed Colt McCoy.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, that was bad.
God.
And that was Colt McCoy scrambling out of the pocket, not really knowing where he was going, and Harrison came from his
and he didn't see Harrison, and that was brutal. My God.
The one for the old kids is I was thinking is when Joe Montana got decked from behind. I think it was an NFC title game. Leonard Marshall maybe hit him from behind, and I mean it was one of those hits just like Watt had that you dream about. You've got you are just full sprint running at the quarterback, and you're like, oh my God, let this happen. It did, and it did. Oh my God.
It was like watching a matador get crushed by a bull. Like TJ, I cannot believe how hard TJ hit him. Like we will see that hit on Renegade videos for years.
Yes.
Well, it's because Baker landed on his head. Let's be honest. I mean, his neck had to be really sore the next day. Oh my God.
And TJ just squared him up perftly too. I mean, it was a completely legal hit, and it was
he hit him about right here.
Yes, and he just absolutely crushed him.
And I will say, for all the Baker Mayfield, the fact that he got up as often as he did, I mean, 9 sacks, how many times he got decked, I give the kid credit.
Bum shoulder, everything else going on.
Back. I give him credit.
I give him props.
Toughness can't be questioned, but his talent can be.
Well, that's a whole other story. You
guys shut up. Cleveland needs to give him $50 million a year. $50 million.
150.
$50 million a year, fully guaranteed, 5 years.
Ben, when we went into this game, there's no question our biggest concern was the ability to stop the run. And then you took into account that Joe Schobert, Devin Bush, Chris Wormley, all on the COVID list. How did we stop the run? What the hell were we doing?
They got penetration. The Browns' offensive line did not play inspired ball. Just being frank, I didn't think they did.
No.
Their tackles certainly did not play inspired ball. I don't know why they kept leaving that poor right tackle on an island
poor kid.
Versus TJ Watt. I mean, they doubled TJ a couple times. I think I counted 7. There may have been 8. I don't know. There were not many doubles, and the guy was just having a monster game. And then I figured after halftime that it's like they're definitely going to start doubling him. Nope, didn't do it. That was stupid. So yeah, I mean, part of it was yes, Highsmith had a great game. 2,
TJ was having a nice game.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Loudermilk
had a nice game.
Yeah.
Loudermilk's got those giant long arms. He's built like a left tackle.
He's
built like a left tackle. I mean, he really does it. If you look at his measurements from the combine, for a guy who's that tall, his arms aren't that long. But when you see him play, he plays a lot longer than he is.
Totally agree.
So I think when he fills out, he's going to be a pretty nice player. We'll see. But future looks bright.
He's taking advantage of the snaps.
Henry Mondo was productive. I mean, everybody got in on it. Everyone.
Mondo loved game of football.
Adams, I want that guy back next year. I hope he comes back, even if it's as a backup nose tackle behind Alualu, who's going to be 36.
He said today he wanted to come back to Pittsburgh.
Yep, and I hope he does.
I hope so.
Yep. I really hope he does.
When Cam Hayward said we should, was it Cam or TJ that said we needed to bring him back? One of those guys said that we should.
I don't know. He fits very well in this defense. He fits very well in that role.
Yeah. He hustles his ass off.
He obviously didn't fit on the Saints defense. That's why he was on their practice squad. So if I were him, I'd want to come back too. It's like he has fun here. He's contributing. He's a player. He's getting reps. Of course he wants to come back. I don't think that guy's ever going to be a star. He's not going to make big money. But here he's got a role.
Right.
He matters. Hell yeah, he wants to come back.
Yeah. One other note on the defensive line too. We did a really good job scouting what the Browns like to do. That TJ Watt had 2 passes defended where he faked like he was going to rush and then dropped back like 2 steps. And the Browns line just kind of stood there and looked at him. And then, when Baker went to throw, TJ just jumped up and knocked the ball down. He almost had an interception on the one.
Yes. Very close.
It was, he was almost sitting in a short zone to break those up. It wasn't like a Cam Hayward pass breakup where he's pass rushing and just, sticks a big paw up there and knocks the ball down. It was, he kind of sunk back a little bit and knew where Baker was going and got right in the passing lane. That's
whole
that's film and
defensive
scouting
front
right
was
there.
doing that. It was pretty sweet. I mean, Hayward had 2. He had 2.
Loudermilk had 1.
Loudermilk had 1.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's film 1? And scouting.
You're right, Ian. Yeah, I think that was, and I mean, you're kind of taught going all the way back to even before high school football. If you can't get to the quarterback, then get your arms up, and try to either get in the way, knock the ball down, whatever. But you're right, there was a very calculated risk on their part on Monday night to knock balls down. There's no doubt in my mind,
and it paid off.
It absolutely. Ellie, go ahead.
I think that also kind of back to your question about how we stop the running game.
Yeah,
I've thought one of the other reasons is what running game, because they hardly ever used Chubb.
Why bring him, right?
I was like, what is going on? They even had somebody who actually declared he was not injured at halftime because I think everybody was shocked at the lack of use. I was really surprised. I thought he was just going to tear right through us the whole game. And somebody even said, he was seeing less. I can't remember exactly, but someone was just talking about he was just sat on the sideline the whole game. I felt like I never saw him.
Louis Riddick, who does a great job at ESPN, he's a former player and executive, and I mean he was like pissed off that the Browns weren't running the ball more. They're like, you guys got to find out, is he hurt? Is he hurt? You know, what's going on down there? And I mean, and of course we're just all sitting there going, no, it's fine. Keep throwing.
But I thought at halftime, I thought that would be it.
Yeah, right. No, I kind of did too. In fact, Ellie, do you think TJ gets the record this weekend? The sack record?
He's
one sack from tying, 1.5 or more from breaking the record. You think he gets it?
I think so. So. I hope so. I think that would be awesome.
I do too. And I'll be honest. I think if Lamar was playing, he'd have a better chance at it for sure. Just Lamar gets caught up short so many times and guys get credited with sacks. But I don't know. I'm excited for that.
If he does break it, he will have done so playing in 15 games.
Unbelievable.
I think this is a really important point to make. Playing in only 15 games. And he sat out most of one of those games with a groin injury.
Right. So it's really 3 games. Yeah.
That he's missed. Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean,
actually,
people are going to nitpick
games,
about it because it's a 17-game season. They're going to nitpick about the fact that he got the record then. And it's no, there's no hyphen here. There isn't, because he actually played in one less game than Strahan.
Well, Ben, you and I are definitely old enough to remember when the NFL moved from 14 to 16. And I do remember a little bit of, well, he didn't do it in 14, he needed 16. And I think we're kind of hitting the same thing here now with this 17th game. But I mean,
records are records, and records are made to fall, and eventually they do.
Absolutely.
Mark Gastineau had the record for a long time.
Yeah, and we'll never know who actually is the best sack artist. I mean, I've had people tell me that like Deacon Jones used to beat the shit out of people and get
Deacon Jones said he used to get 4 sacks a game every single game.
Right, and they didn't start making it an actual stat until I think 82. So, but yeah, I look forward to it this weekend. I hope he gets it early and kind of gets it out of the way, and then he can just play from there. Ian, what do you hear anything in the stands regarding Corliss Waitman and Presley Harvin III? Because
Ian, do you hear things in the stands?
Are
there any swear words?
There are a lot of swear words. Yes.
I imagine there probably are. I've sat in that section.
Yeah.
I didn't ask if there were swear words.
There were a lot and there were some drunks around me too. I was offended.
Look, we all obviously send our best wishes to Presley Harvin. His father passed away. That's why he hasn't been at the last few games. Corliss Waitman has been outstanding for the most part.
I think Ben put it very well last week when he said that Waitman can crush the ball, but he can't spin the ball. That he made some very good kicks when he had a long field and a lot of room to work with.
Yes,
but his skill set is not the ability to stick it inside the 10 and have it not go into the end zone. That said, arguably one of the best plays of the game was Waitman kicking out of his own end zone, fielding a bad snap over his shoulder, and getting a punt off on with a shorter distance between him and the line, just because of where I think they were on the 3 or the 4 yard line.
They were, it was inside.
He was on 3. Heels were on the back line. His heels were on the back line.
And I mean, for a guy to come in, off the street, basically, I think he was on the practice squad for a little while, but basically started cold last week as punter, his second week as punter, to field a bad snap under pressure and get that kick off. And it was, I mean, like you said, he kicked it from his heels back across the 50-yard line. So, I mean, that was a long kick. I know the Browns got a decent return out of it and wound up scoring a touchdown on a shorter field. But still, I mean, that was a heck of a kick that he made. And just an all-around effort, you know, catching the snap and getting the kick off.
No, I agree with what, like you pointed out, what Ben said last week. He doesn't have that ability to spin the ball that is so needed right now in the NFL. But my goodness, I just cringe at the thought of what may have happened had Harvin been back there in that situation. And again, he might have handled it well.
Harvin's not a weak punter. The problem with Harvin is he's inconsistent.
Oh, yes, tremendously. Yeah.
You know, I mean, and there was a bad punt by Craig Colquitt. What did it go? 7 yards or something. I was like, wow. Thank you.
Wait, did you just say Craig Colquitt?
No, what was his name?
Dustin.
Dustin Colquitt.
Yeah,
sorry.
Craig was the old man.
Colquitt. Yeah. I think Craig was actually a really good punter.
He was. Ellie, how would you sum up Chris Boswell?
Oh, Old Faithful. If ever anybody is, if ever there's a moment, which is why sometimes a couple of times it was just like, just please, just let Chris kick it. Just please, when we were in that red zone and it was just failing. I'm like, please bring on the kicking team, please. Like, because he's like a comfort zone, I think. That's how he makes me feel. Yeah. And it's so funny to think, what was his really bad season? 2018? 2019?
Oh boy.
18
or 18?
18, because 19 was the year Ben missed. Yeah.
That's right. So it was 18.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Where he basically scored all of our points. I'm so glad that we didn't give up on him. I think they did host other kickers after that season.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that we stuck with him because he has paid that back in dividends, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And he truly could have been the other person who could have been the team MVP.
Yeah, and TJ Watt was voted the MVP for the third year.
Let's be honest, the Steelers special teams are average only because Boswell is a member of the Steelers special teams.
Yeah.
Without him, they would be far below average. Yeah. Just like the offense and defense. I mean,
and I would just like to add, since we're talking about Chris Boswell, that when Hall of Famer Rick Holman was kind enough to get myself and my daughter on the field for warm-ups for the Tennessee game, we were egging my daughter on because she is in love with Boswell. We were attempting to get her to run on the field and hug him. She knew better, which I'm very proud as a parent. She knew better than to do that. But there were a few moments when Boz got a little too close to our sideline, and I thought she was going to do it. And I just wanted to say that I'm very proud of my daughter for not getting us kicked out of the stadium.
Should have gotten her more whiskey before the game.
Well, she that's a whole other story, my friend. We met somebody who had some whiskey and some alcoholic cider after the game. So she definitely had a little bit of that
after the game.
After
you've done that before the game, she might have just done it.
She had a few cocktails before, but yeah. Anyway,
one other note on Boswell.
Yeah,
I was watching him when he came out after halftime. It was warming up for the second half. Mm-hmm. He kicked a 42-yarder and a 52-yarder in the closed end zone, and then moved to the open end and kicked like a 42 and a 52. And I said to my dad, I was like, he's not even practicing from closer because he knows the offense can't get closer than that.
That's funny.
And it was just like, that's where he was practicing from.
It's sad, but it's funny.
Is sad. It is.
Let me kind of run down some things if people didn't see this that came out yesterday and today, but the COVID list has been all over the place. Joe Schobert and Devin Bush and Chris Wormley and Anthony McFarland and who's the other one? Arthur Millette are all off of the COVID list.
Banner.
Zach Banner as well. Thank you, Ellie. Are all eligible to play this week.
Which is good.
Very good.
Dan Moore is on the COVID list now.
He's on the COVID list?
Dan Moore, yeah.
Oh, no. I thought he was just hobbled
as
with
of
an
today
ankle this week. Oh, God. Okay. So
no, excuse me. What the hell am I saying?
No, it's Joe Hayden.
Yeah, no, it's Hayden, Butler,
Kendrick Green,
and
Deontay Johnson,
DJ.
So let me
address. Dan Moore hasn't practiced all week. That was what it was.
Right, and that's where I was going to go with this.
Tired.
He's injured, right?
I hear you.
He hasn't practiced all week, and if he can't go on Sunday, then most likely Chooks is going to start at left tackle.
Yep.
And that would be either Banner or Joe Haeg at right tackle. Now, I don't know what the coaches think of Banner, but so far this season, he's played a total of 4 snaps on offense.
4.
So apparently they don't think that highly.
No.
No.
But there's the point being is there's going to be some reshuffling. Unless Moore all of a sudden practices tomorrow, being Friday for those that are listening. I mean, that's the way it's looking right now. We could see Banner get his first start of the season, or it's going to be Joe Haeg. Guys, the Ravens have a slight chance. Their chances are even less than ours of making the playoffs. And just for those that don't know, the Steelers have to win. The Colts have to drop their season finale in Jacksonville, and
now,
amazingly, they
quick point on that. They haven't won there since 2014.
Crazy stat. Yeah,
I had no idea.
And,
so historically,
it's good.
It's good for us. But the bad part is Jacksonville right now has the number 1 overall pick.
And I think it's clinched, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, because the tie that the Lions have, if the Jaguars win and the Lions lose, the Lions would have that tie, so they'd get the number 1
Well,
pick.
the Lions are playing Green Bay, so that's going to be a loss. Now, let me tell you this, too. They're playing Green Bay in Detroit. There will be way more Packer fans than Lion fans. And I hate that for Lion fans, but it's true. Every year, Packer fans go to that game in droves. But
I think
but the other game is the Chargers-Raiders. If that game ends in a tie, believe it or not, it screws the Steelers.
Right.
All they need is for one team to win or one team to lose, and they're in. So that's what's got to happen. For Baltimore, they need not only those things to happen. They have to win, then those things to happen. But I think they also have to have Miami beat New England or lose to New England. I can't remember one or the other. So they've got an even longer shot at this. And I don't, Ian, would you play Lamar Jackson if you're John Harbaugh, if he's healthy?
I mean, Hundley's been playing pretty well. And, we've always played Lamar well. And Lamar does not have what I would describe as an active downfield arm. I don't know if I'd call it limp, but he's not a good thrower outside the numbers at all.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar makes his throws by scrambling around, finding an open passing lane.
Finding a passing lane, exactly.
And finding an open guy. Lamar is dangerous, but I think Hundley's played well for them.
I don't disagree, but I don't think that Jackson is weak-armed at all. I just think he's inaccurate. He's not a guy who can put the ball where the receiver needs it to be to make it easy to catch it.
He's not a good deep thrower or outside the numbers thrower, though, and that's where you need the arm strength. So
he's not a guy who, because he doesn't set his feet. His mechanics suck.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who throws a good 15, 20-yard out. That was Ben's bread and butter for so many years.
That bend to AB 15-yard out was amazing.
Right.
And one other thing I wanted to note, talking about the Colts, I think the most poignant analysis that I heard this week on the radio was somebody said that the Jaguars aren't capable of beating the Colts, but the Colts are capable of losing to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
he just said Jaguars.
I'd
like that noted for the record. That's some Yinzerism right there.
Jaguars.
Drinking.
The Jaguars.
Hey.
The Jaguars.
Ian said it, so I'm going to go there. A former Steeler by the name of Antonio Brown has been in the news a lot this last couple of days.
Yes.
Look, guys, we all know this. And
AB is going to AB.
AB is going to AB, and it was only a matter of time. And the fact that he even did it to a Tom Brady team, do you remember the people that used to come out and go after Ben Roethlisberger? Oh, he's a shitty leader. He's terrible. AB. I mean, are they going to keep saying? Are they saying the same thing about Tom Brady now? I mean, no. I mean, Ellie, you saw what happened on Sunday with AB. What are you thinking while you're watching that?
I feel like my opinion on it sounds like such a downer because I saw people, I see.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to sound inappropriate when I say this. I can see the meme side of it and why people are saying and making memes about it. And some of the memes are absolutely hilarious.
Yes, they are.
But without being the person who's like, oh, what a killjoy. At the end of the day, something is wrong. And I really hope that the league steps up and helps this person. I know, I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm going to tell you a story in a minute.
My thing about it is he has small children. And I'd really like for them to not have to go through an awful situation with their parents. So I hope that the league steps up.
Damn it, Ellie, you just took a very fun subject and ruined it.
It's fine.
I'm sorry.
Listen.
No, that's true. Go ahead, Ben.
Antonio Brown has been offered help for years.
Oh, I imagine so.
Okay. Yeah. And has refused it. And I'm not going to get into a long explanation about it. There are things that Mark and I and Ian have discussed offline. Things I know for a fact took place, even at this distance. I can only imagine how much the press in Pittsburgh knows and has never reported because Antonio Brown was protected. And when he left, he was no longer protected because those teams he went to didn't protect him.
Nope.
And that's fine. It is what it is. The flip side of this is people will say the Steelers coddled him for too long. Well, did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coddle him for too long? Or is this just AB being AB because he's batshit crazy?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the latter because we've seen this over and over and over and over again. Okay.
It's a
Antonio Brown has zero credibility with me. When he came out with a thing today, I've got these texts and and I was trying to get and I told them this and then later on the Buccaneers come back and say, he asked us to guarantee his $2 million in incentives before the game. We said we would not. He was pouting at halftime about not getting the ball enough, not getting enough targets. And then he refused to go into the game because he wasn't getting the ball. Yeah. So we told him he wasn't playing anymore and he quit. It was like, yeah, that sounds like AB. That because we've seen those temper tantrums in the sideline when he was wearing a Steelers uniform. He wasn't getting the ball. Time he kicked the water cooler, punched and kicked the water cooler, and he was standing on the sideline. All that. None of this is new. And there are so many other stories going way back.
There are.
That
there's a lot more than just the speeding ticket on McKnight Road.
Yeah, Ryan Clark talked about the time when he went after Dick LeBeau because he got hit in practice right after he'd gotten his first big contract, and he went, "What are you doing? I'm the franchise. I'm the man." There's more to that story than Ryan talked about. Again, this is something that we heard offline from people who were standing there.
Yeah.
So this is just AB being AB. I don't know how else to put it. And Ellie, I hope he gets help too.
Absolutely.
But AB is his own worst enemy and always has been.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And I you brought up the kids. He does. He's got small kids. And
and he has birth control.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand it. I don't fucking get it.
I don't either. And the guy brought me all of us. The guy brought us so much joy, so much entertainment, so many great moments. And we want the best for him. But it's got to stop. I mean, he's got to check himself into the mirror and go from there. And as Ben said, he's been offered help a million different times, and he just doesn't seem to want it.
Oh, and he's surrounded by sycophants. That's
true
issue.
too.
He's surrounded by sycophants.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yes men and yes women who are just telling him no matter what he does that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Guys, I don't want to end on a total downer, so let's talk a little bit here about what you think is going to happen on Sunday, 1 p.m. in Baltimore. We are again at is it still M&T Bank? Is it
Stadium.
B&T? I can't freaking remember. In any case, Ian, what do you think transpires on Sunday in Baltimore?
For as explosive as Baltimore's offense has been over the years, they have not been good this year. This is going to be low scoring and it's going to be ugly. And we've got the two best kickers in the league on the field at the same time.
It's scary.
It's scary because it's one of those, like, I kind of feel like whoever gets the ball last is probably going to win. I
hope it's really windy.
Yeah. I don't, because Chris Boswell's like 90% of our offense. We need Chris to be able to kick too. Maybe the wind can just blow and Justin Tucker.
The wind affects long kicks more than it does short kicks.
That's true. Who was it a couple years ago that said the wind only blew when they were on offense? It was somebody who played against us, and they blamed the wind.
I actually remember someone saying that now that you've just said that.
Recall that, but I don't remember.
So maybe the wind can just blow, when Tucker is kicking.
I like that idea.
Please.
I really want us to win this game. I'm going to go back to the old faithful of, we've played a lot of games against the Ravens over the years that have ended in the same score. So I'm going to predict that same score, which is 23-20. And I will say Steelers 23-20, but unfortunately I think the Colts will beat the Jaguars and we won't get in. But
hey Ian, say Browns.
Browns.
It's a color. It's bronze.
Yeah. You guys go down there on Monday night and watch Ben beat the Browns for the last time.
I love it. Ellie, what is your prediction for Sunday afternoon in Baltimore? The Queen City, I believe they call it. I don't know.
Really?
She simply would never to either of those.
It's Charm City, actually.
Charm City. That's what it is. Queen City, yes. Baltimore.
It's so charming in Baltimore.
Too much Bradshaw bourbon.
I feel the same way as Ian. I think that the score is going to be low. It's going to be messy, but the Ravens are always my favorite rival. I always loved watching those games. They're always, at least they're interesting. If they're low scoring, they're interesting.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to winning. I think we'll win.
Okay.
I hope we ride the kind of momentum of Ben's final home game. Let's do it for Ben. I hope that kind of tips us right into Baltimore and we come home with a win. But I also agree, low scoring. And, I think, you'll hate the way I say it, I think the Jaguars will win.
Well, Jaguars is much better than Jaguars.
It is, actually.
All right. Do you have a score, Ellie?
Ellie's much more refined and classy than I am.
That's what I want.
That's actually setting the bar pretty low, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I didn't say what the differential was.
I would probably say the same thing.
Same, about 23-20? Okay. All right, Ben, what do you got?
Win a close, ugly one, 17-14. But yeah, I don't think the Jags will win because the Colts need to win to get in.
They do?
Yeah. Yep. And Jonathan Taylor is having a fucking outstanding year. So
great player.
If they're smart, they just will take the ball away from Carson Wentz and just run Taylor down the Jaguars' throats.
Yep.
And win another low-scoring game. Force Jacksonville into throwing.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the rookie quarterback. He's a very talented player, but he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And I don't see that part of it coming out. But whatever. I'd rather finish 9-7-1. I would.
Yeah, the 8-1 thing we've been kind of calling for the last about 5 or 6 weeks, and I don't want to think about it. I'm going to go with a field goal fest. I'm going to say Steelers win 12-9.
12-9.
Baltimore's going to line up for a game-winning field goal. Cam Hayward is going to block the Tucker kick. I'm telling you, it's going to happen right now. I can see it.
Cam.
But, yep, Cam's going to block it. But unfortunately, I agree with you guys down in Jacksonville. The Colts will just be too much for Jacksonville. And that'll be it. But, I will say this. I think the Baltimore crowd will be extremely respectful to Ben Roethlisberger. Look, you always have your idiots. Steelers Nation has plenty of idiots. We know.
No.
Yes, we have a couple.
Okay, a couple. All right.
But I think they'll be great to Ben. I think they will appreciate the rivalry. I think they'll appreciate his contributions to that rivalry. And win or lose, it'll go out that way. And Maggie has said hello. So, hey, that wraps it up for this edition of the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And again, we're very pleased to be part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. And go Steelers!
Ravens suck.